so it's noisy. Now, I will be gone for about 2 months or maybe 3 months. I want you who keep staying here, taking this opportunity to practice as much as possible. To practice the way of Samadhi, that means putting our attention on one point, being it Buddha or being it the breath. And also to practice Asubha, investigation of the body. Both of these practices we have to develop. We have to develop Samadhi and we have to develop wisdom. So how to develop wisdom? We have to start investigating the body. That is the most and foremost object. Because within this body there is rooted greed and hate. It's just like the pot of earth that roots the tree of greed and hate. If we understand, or if we are able to destroy the body, then this is the end of greed and hate. And this is the end of our being reborn in these realms of existence. It is yet not the final goal. The final goal is the liberation or Nibbana. But then after the work of eliminating the body or eliminating greed and hate, then we have the 4 nama khandhas or the 4 mind khandhas, the 4 mind groups that starts with feelings, that is association and memory, that is thoughts and consciousness. This is the work of the Anagami. But before that, we don't even have to consider. We don't even have to consider the mind khandhas unless they don't put any obstacles in our way. Once they put any obstacles in our way, then of course, then we do investigate. Obstacles on our way to investigation of the body or obstacles on our way to reach Samadhi, the Upachara Samadhi or the deep state of Samadhi. Mindfulness. Mindfulness is really the key. We don't have a lot of work to do here. Actually, we have very little. The monks have to go on Pindapat, and then after Pindapat, they eat their food and then they wash their bowls. That's the work in the morning. In the afternoon, they sweep and take care of their cloth or their robes and their kuti. That's all the work we have to do. We have to wash. We have to wash ourselves. All in all, this is only at most 2 hours. And the rest of the time is there for practice. The rest of the time, in the normal cases, if we do not exert ourselves too much, that's 18 hours that is left for practice. 4 hours we sleep, 2 hours we do our work, and 18 hours we do our practice. That means practicing in the 2 positions, in the sitting position or in the walking position. Practicing our Buddha or practicing the investigation of the body. And if we are not mindful of the Buddha that comes into our mind, then we lose our time or we waste our time. Be mindful. And mindful better be translated as be aware. Be aware of each Buddha. And be aware of how the Buddha is. Is the Buddha fast? Is the Buddha slow? Is the Buddha deep or is the Buddha shallow? Just like we do with the breath. Is the breath deep or is the breath shallow? Is the in-breath longer or is the out-breath shorter? Whatever. Awareness is the quality of the citta that takes note of these things. It just takes note just by itself if we put the attention on it. That's how it works. We have to put the attention on the object, and then the awareness will come. If we let our mind go back into past or in future, or into worry this or worry that, or figuring this out or figuring that out, this is not called awareness. This is called mindlessness. If we think we are walking mindfully, then this is just a thought, and actually we are not mindful. Just remember this. Sati, if sati wouldn't be so important, if mindfulness wouldn't be so important, the Lord Buddha wouldn't stress it and wouldn't even say it, that within 7 days and 7 nights, if we have complete mindfulness, then we can gain enlightenment. But complete mindfulness means we cannot even let the mind going out for 1 second, or for 1 mind moment. If the mind goes out and strolls around and thinks about this or thinks about that, or evaluates this or evaluates this, this is not called mindfulness. If we investigate our body and the mind goes on, for instance, if we investigate the skin or the hair of the body and the mind goes suddenly off and thinks about the hair of his loved one, or the hair of this person or that person, then this is not mindfulness. Mindfulness has been removed and the thoughts are going to stop. Be aware of the hair. What is the hair like? Investigate the hair. Or investigate the skin, or investigate the nails, where they're coming from, how do they grow, what is the nature of it? What is the nature? This is the most important question. What is the nature? What is the nature of feelings? Well, we say cold, or we say pleasant, or we say unpleasant, but what does it mean? We have to investigate, we have to observe it. And that is what is called awareness of the feeling. Awareness of the feeling arising, awareness of the feeling ceasing, and staying with it. Staying with the unpleasant feeling or staying with the pleasant feeling without that the mind is going off into thoughts. I want more of this, I don't want it. Who is guilty of it? Who is the scapegoat? This is not awareness. Awareness is staying with the feelings, or is staying with whatever comes into the mind. Complete awareness is just seeing that a thought comes into the mind, and once the thought has come across the mind, it goes out. This is awareness. It's not interested about the contents of the thought. It just sees the thought passing by like a cloud. So this is true awareness. This is true mindfulness. If you just see arising, we see arising of a memory, but we don't buy into this memory, so we don't foster this memory. Because if we foster this memory, a thought comes and a feeling is accompanied, and within a second we are gone. We are lost in thoughts. All our life we have been lost in thoughts. We are just like a person, who walks on the earth but always looks in the sky. He doesn't even notice what is going on the earth. He doesn't even notice about his own footsteps. When we do walking meditation, we take note. We take note of the movement of the body. We can combine it with the Buddha, or we can just leave it alone and concentrate more on the Buddha. But be aware of the movement of the body. Be aware of what brings this movement. Now, for instance, when you drink or when you eat, what brings the movement? What makes the hand go in this direction? Ask yourself. This is mindfulness, awareness of whatever is going on. Because if you stretch out your arm, there must be an intention before it is going to be stretched. Remember this. This is awareness. The intention, knowing the intention that I want to stretch my arm, or that I want to stretch my body or my leg or this or that I want to drink something. The intention, while we're looking around, what is our intention? We're looking for something to distract us, or we're looking for something to eat, or we're looking for something to drink. Be aware of every process, everything, every single mind moment. This is the sati that the Lord Buddha talks about it when he says within 7 days and 7 nights. When we put on our robes, or when we put when we put on our clothes, we should be aware of putting on the clothes or putting our own robes. When we wear the robes, we should be aware of wearing the robes. We feel, always the cloth is in touch with the skin. Don't you feel it? You feel it only once in a while. Maybe every 2 days or every 3 days. But it is constantly. The touch, the feeling of the rope, touching the skin is constantly there. So why don't we feel it? Why are we not aware of it? Because we are lost in our thoughts. It's the same thing with feeling. Once a feeling arises, we immediately flee from it, going into thoughts. Thought about the past. When has this feeling arisen? Or who is guilty of this feeling? Or what was going wrong? This is not the question. The question is, being aware of this feeling. Just staying with this feeling. Just staying without moving the mind. Observing the feeling, how it arises, and observing the feeling, how it ceases. And the first time you do this, you feel like being electrocuted on an electric chair. Because everything wants to go out. The mind or the chitta wants to go out. So you actually have to force it to stay with the feeling. Do you understand that? We have to stay with the feeling. We cannot allow the mind to go off in any kind of direction, to think about the feeling, or to memorize. Oh, I had this feeling before. It was nice, Now I got it again. How did I get it? This is not called awareness. This is not called sati. This is called mindlessly. If I made an experience, to figure out what kind of experience it was, this is not called mindfulness. This is called thinking. This is called concluding. And that's what we always do. So we have to counteract this tendency of our chitta. We have to counteract that the chitta goes out here and goes out there. That it thinks about this and thinks about that. I hope you understand it. It is so important that we realize our own intentions that we have. The intention, to take a breath, the intention to drink something, the intention to eat something. And what kind of food are we choosing? It's going so fast that we even don't know. We just stuff it in, to get... But who is the one who selects the food? Think about it. Who is the one who selects the food? Who is the one who is directing the arm towards the right kind of food that we stuff in the next time? And when we stuff it in, we are not even with a taste. We taste it for a second and then we think about that we want more or we don't like it. This is called mindfulness. Mindfulness is so important. Get the idea of what is mindfulness. When we think about pain and think how terrible it is, it's not mindfulness. We lost our mindfulness already. Investigate the pain. Look at it, when the pain comes up during the sitting meditation, look at it. And see for what it is. It's a feeling. There are 3 kinds of feeling. There's a pleasant feeling, there's an unpleasant feeling, there's a neutral feeling. The moment it's unpleasant, we think it's pain. We call it this. We call it pain, or we call it anger, or we call it, fear. It doesn't matter. It's an unpleasant feeling. No matter what we call it. It's not the calling that is important. It is investigating, it's observing this feeling, how it arises and ceases. The chitta doesn't need to understand, but the chitta needs to look what it is in order for it to understand. We're trying to make the work for the chitta in concluding this and concluding that and say this is pain or this is pleasant or this is lust or this is pain or this is greed and this is hate. Without understanding, we just take the mind to help out the chitta. But the chitta needs to look for itself to understand it. You got it? The chitta needs to see, that all aspects of the feeling for it to understand. So if we cannot keep on this feeling, we will be lost and we will never understand the true nature of things. The true nature of things are hidden behind the walls of our thoughts, of our imaginations, of our associations, of our memories. They're hidden behind these walls. So we have to break down these walls in order to get down to the basic feeling. Once the chitta sees it, and once it sees it 1 time or 10 times or 100 times, once it completely sees it from its arising and ceasing, and sees both things, it sees the pleasant feelings and the other unpleasant feelings in its true nature, then it understands and it lets go on its own. We cannot let go. There's no way that we can let go. We cannot do it, that's right. We can be determined not to do it, but that doesn't mean that we have let go of it. Understand this clearly, they're 2 different things. We can decide from now on that we are not going to eat for the next 30 days, even if we are hungry. But we have not gotten rid of our hunger. We cannot decide not to do this or not to do that, not to buy into this or not to buy into that, but that doesn't mean that it doesn't come up again. Once the chitta understands it, it lets go of it. And the things are just passed by. So I really want, these 2 months that I'm away, or maybe 3 months, probably 2 months, I don't know yet, that you do this kind of work, that you polish up your sati, that you polish up your mindfulness, you polish up awareness. The moment you open your eyes, you are aware that the eyes open. And then you look at the intention, getting up, is the intention. And then look at the movement, how to get up. And then getting dressed or whatever, or washing the face or whatever. Look at the intention, look at it like it is in a slow motion. We don't have a lot of things to do, so we can watch them, observe them in slow motion, how everything arises and everything ceases. And how we need our intention in order to make things happen. I can say, I want to move my hand, but if the hand doesn't move, if I don't send the intention down to the movement, to the brain, then it won't move. And this is a clear feeling. You can notice it within within the head. There's a clear intention coming, and then the hand stretches out. It's an impulse, and you can notice it. You can see the difference between saying, I want to stretch my hand, and actually giving the impulse to stretch the hand. These are 2 different things. So get down to the basics. Get down to the basic feelings. It's not difficult. But we have to be increasingly patient. Patient. Not letting the mind go out. Not letting wandering here or wandering there. We have to be extremely patient whenever we see it, and that is our training phase. Whenever we see the mind, we pull it back. Going out on a straw, we pull it back. We don't even think about what was going encountering, because that would pull us out again. We just bring it back. Just simply bring it back. Bring it back to the Buddha, or bring it back to the investigation. And the more often we realize that the mind go out, the more improves our mindfulness. Once our mindfulness gets a little basic, we see how unmindful we are all this time. Then our mindfulness actually has a foot, has a certain basis. If you still think, we are mindful all the time, then we haven't developed mindfulness yet. Be clear of this. Be really clear. Get down to the basics. Don't get lost in your associations. Don't get lost in your conclusions. Whatever conclusions you have, what does it help you? If you have the conclusion that you have to practice more, then it helps you. Always ask yourself, what kind of conclusion is it worthwhile? Does it have a purpose? Does it improve my practice? If it improves my practice, okay, let's do it. If it doesn't, just let go rid of it. If it just tells me, this experience was this or that, what is the purpose of it? It's useless. We have made the experience already. You understand it? We have made the experience. We don't need to figure out the words or description of this experience. It's not necessary. Nobody can take the experience away from it. But the moment you figure it out in words and in association, and you tell somebody else, and then he says, now this is bullshit. And then you think your whole experience went away. But the experience was there. It's what is taken away from you is the words or the meaning. And what does the words and meaning have to do with the experience of the feeling itself? Experience with the thought, experience with the memory. What does it have to do? When we think, why is always this thought coming in? Now this is going off in the wrong direction. Investigate it. If something is sticky in the mind, if you really can't get the mind loose of something, then break it down. Break it down like we break down the body. Break the things down, break the thoughts down, ask them what they are. What's the purpose of this thought? And then the next answer comes, and what is this? What does it mean? Does it help anything? Break it down until there is nothing arising anymore. Because the answers come from our enemy. Remember this, the answers that we ask come from our enemy, the kilesas, or avijja. The kilesas are just the fangs of avijja. Fangs just means arms. They're not really avijja, but they are fangs with what they catch us. Or in other terms, in Pali words, it's called also asavas, the outflows. That's where our mind flows out. That's where the chitta goes hunting. Hunting for pleasure or hunting for dukkha, it doesn't matter. At least it is hunting. That's all what it wants. It wants to stroll around. It doesn't matter, if it is pleasant things or unpleasant things. That's the nature of the kilesas, or that's the nature of avijja. It just wants to be. It just wants to exist. It just wants its own right of living. And with its own right of living, it's like a thing that lives of our own true nature. And we have to remove it. It blocks us from seeing as the truth. Remember this, what I said just before. All the thoughts and the associations, our views and our opinions are blocking the truth away from us. Remember this. So whenever you put something in an association, this is a cock, or this is this, or this is the cry of or this is the noise of a snake, or this is the noise of a chicken, or whatever. What does it have to mean? The experience is the noise. The experience is the sense of the ears. And it's the same thing when we see something. The experience is the sense of the eye. So just stay with this experience in order to understand it. If we cannot stay with it, we will not have a chance. We will not have a chance to ever find the true nature. We will not ever have a chance to find Nibbana. Because Nibbana is hidden beyond all these things. What I just talked about. So we have to remove them. Step by step. Step by step. Just like we remove the stains from our window. Our window is so dirty that we can't see out. So step by step we clean up this window. So that we can see actually outside. When we are able and there are no stains anymore in our window, or you can compare it with the chitta, then this is Nibbana. It sees Nibbana. So if you don't remove all these stains, If you don't remove all the kilesas, and if you don't remove avijja from our heart, we will not be able to be in Nibbana, to see completely Nibbana. So that is what we have to do. So don't buy into this. If you have to use the brain, then use it for investigation, or use it for evaluating what you're doing. Is it worthwhile? Does it bring me some peace, or does it bring me some wisdom? Or does it foster my silas? That means my 5 precepts, or my morality, or my virtue, or whatever. And if it does, then let's go ahead and do it. But just don't think about it. We'll do it all the time. Every time we have to investigate. Every time we have to see what kind of results our action has. In the beginning, it might have a good result, but it will, in the end, it will just turn around, and it will have negative. If we exert ourselves whenever we go into one extreme, it will have a negative effect, no matter what we do. So if we do something good, and we exert ourselves too much, then we go into the extreme. Then this will not be healthy. That's why the Lord Buddha called it the Majjhima Patipada. It's a middle way of practice. Not going into the one extreme and not falling into the other extreme. It can be. So that's why we always have to be alert. There is no way for us where we can put our mindfulness during the whole day aside and say, okay, I know this will have a good effect. No. Each time we have to reflect about the actions that we are doing. We have to reflect about our ways to understand the results. And once we see that the results are changing from wholesome into unwholesome, then we have to correct our actions. Understand that? There is no way that we can be unmindful. Even if we have developed a method, till the fullest. And the method always worked for us. And then there comes one time where this method will not work. So we have to change the method of our practice. That can be in so many aspects. If we fix ourselves, that we always get up at 3 o'clock and then go to bed at 11 o'clock, we will put a limit to ourselves. But for the beginning, it is very helpful. But then afterwards, after a month or after a year or after 10 years, we realize, now I wake up at 2 o'clock. Okay, let's get up at 2 o'clock. Let's do practice from 2 o'clock. Or I wake up at 1 o'clock. Or I go to bed at 3 o'clock and wake up at 6 o'clock. Let's do it. Let's follow this natural circle. But if we just stick to things too much, then they become a danger to us. But in the beginning, as long as they prove wholesome, then we do it. But if we do not put our attention on it, how the effects are, then we will be lost. Then we will be hammering the nail into a stone. If you don't see, that under the wood there is some stone, and we think, why doesn't the nail go? And then we use much more force. And all what happens is that the nail will bend. It will not go into the wood anymore. Because we have reached the end of the wood. So, now if we don't reflect about our actions, we will be lost. If we are too rigid in one way, we will be lost. It's not going into extreme. Majjhima. But Majjhima doesn't translate, it's the middle position of our pillow. Or that we should restrain from, or that we should go into laziness. That is not the Majjhima Pada. This is not the middle way of practice. Always exerting ourselves, but also giving us a rest. There's a time to exert and there's a time to rest. We have to figure out when is the right time to exert and when is the right time to rest. The moment if we think, now I've done enough work, that is not the time to stop. Once we think now it's going good, then maybe it's time to take a rest. Just to rest the body for a while and then go on with the practice. We have to counteract our characteristic traits. We have to counteract them. We think, if you do this, then this will result in this. If you do that, then this will result in that. And because our thinking guides us, we always go wrong. If we do not reflect about the results of what we are doing, then we end up, even if we do things that are considered to be wholesome, we will end up at the wrong end. It's always to find a middle way of practice. It's like balancing on a rope. If you're at the rope, one time you have to balance to the right and one time you have to balance to the left. There's no way that you can say, I always have to balance to the right. You will fall. You will fall off the rope. Huh? Think about it. Think about it very carefully. It's the same thing, when we consider our attention on the Buddha, then we stay on the Buddha, and we just gently put the mindfulness on the Buddha and Buddha and Buddha. If we force the Buddha too much, then we will fall off. It's the middle way, being mindful and putting the attention back. That's where all our effort goes. The effort doesn't go into the pushing of the word Buddha or the pushing of the breath, because that is controlling the breath or that is controlling the Buddha. Let the Buddha just happen within our heart. First we implant it in our heart and then just observe it. Observe it, how it is. It can be a chant, it can be anything. Just observe it how it is. Every moment, every new. Don't think, this Buddha is just like the other one. It's not. If it would be, there wouldn't be any possibility that we can keep our concentration on this Buddha. It can be. It is enchanting. The Buddha can be completely enchanting. And we do that until we cannot. Our mind gets so concentrated. And it's a feeling, it's feeling, it really concentrates in, on one point. And then there will be a time, after it concentrates on one point then there will be a time where we can't think this word Buddha. And when we know that we can't think this word Buddha, then we retract to the knowing nature of the Chitta. And then we enter one-pointedness. So, remember this very well. Mindfulness. Keeping with what is. Noting your intention of what you're going to do. When you wash your body, notice how you take up the soap, or who says to take up the soap. Or are you just doing it mindlessly? When you dig in the food, who's telling this arm to dig in the food? And who's telling it what kind of food he digs in? Is that mindlessly? When we have already some food in the hand goes already, tries to take out so that we stuff and stuff and stuff, Is that mindlessly? Isn't it? Be aware of every movement you are doing. Be aware of your intentions. Be aware of the feelings and stay. Please stay with it. Just observe them. Observe them in the true nature that they arise and cease and change. And a pleasant feeling, and then you will see a pleasant feeling changes into an unpleasant feeling. But when the unpleasant feeling, there's a force that tries to take us out. And that's why I said in the beginning, it's like sitting on an electric chair the first time. Everything wants to go out. The mind wants to pull away from this observation. It wants to go into thinking. And that is not only happening to unpleasant feelings, it also happens to pleasant feelings. The nature of the mind, or our nature of the mind, just cannot stay with these things. It's just not interested. It wants as much as possible. It wants the excitement of the feeling, and it wants the excitement of the thoughts. It wants the excitement, be it negative or positive. When I said excitement, excitement is always taking place in the heart. It wants the excitement of the thought, and then it wants the excitement of the memory, and then it looks back to the feeling. It wants this excitement. It rushes from one excitement to the other. That's why it's so necessary that we just stay with one thing. Just one thing. Observation of the feeling arising, the feeling ceasing. And when there is no thought, how do we know it's pain? Huh? How do we know it's pain? How do we know it's fear? How do we know it's this and this? If there are no thoughts, we don't know. If there are no thoughts, how do we know that this noise is the noise of a chicken or of a cock? Or this is the noise of sweeping, or this is the noise of that? How do we know? We don't. We just stay with the feeling, with the sensation. From the beginning till the end. And within this staying there is a peacefulness. No matter if it's pleasant or unpleasant, there's a peacefulness, just staying. The restlessness or the unpeacefulness comes as running around in thoughts and memory and association and feeling, memory association, feeling, memory association and feeling. That's where the restlessness, that's where the unpleasantness, that's where the pain comes from. That's where our dukkha comes from. Remember this well. So exert yourself during this time. I'm not here. Just keep you to yourself and put the most effort into your practice. And do always a little bit more than you think you can do. And with this I end my talk. And I hope when I come back, I see you all in light.